My next guest today is David Bennett. He runs a global distribution company out of the UK called Bentec. Bentec has recently introduced a whole range of new protective equipment and testing equipment for the workforce as they come back to work. These include temperature sensors and all sorts of other pieces of equipment. Dave Bennett joins me now. Nice to see you, Dave.
Hey, Trevor.
So tell me a little bit about some of these pieces of equipment that you're bringing in, and is this something that every company is going to need to implement as they come back to work from this COVID-19 pandemic?
That's going to be an interesting thing, Trevor, because I guess at the moment it's a choice of the company. You know, if they want to prove they've done their due diligence and they're looking after their workforce, then of course they need some sort of measure, because if you bring all your staff back and you let in one person that's carrying the virus and is showing signs, you know, your whole workforce is potentially at risk. So I think more and more companies are realizing that, you know, there's a chance that we are slowly coming to the end of this terrible time, and having something in place that will ensure their workers are being looked after to the best of their ability. I mean, they can do no more than put the measures there. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of interest. I've got a lot of activity in the States, orders going into areas like Spain and across Europe, a lot of quoting in the UK. So I think what it is, it's the owners of the companies and the safety people within the companies realizing that, you know, for what is relatively inexpensive, because these things are not expensive at all, but they do give you that nice feeling that your workforce is coming through the door, they're not over temperature, and you know, it's one step towards providing a safe working environment.
So it doesn't look like it's mandatory, Dave, but I would think in places, especially like the United States, it's probably quite prudent to put these types of protection in to protect the workforce, but also to protect the company against getting sued for, you know, not looking after the workforce properly. There's already been some cases being brought up in the US already. Tell us some of the things that you're selling.
Well, if I could share my screen with you, Trevor, I can show you a few different things. It's not actually the widest range of products, and to be honest, it's not overly expensive for the manufacturer to put in place. So basically what we have, Trevor, we have 3 different ways to let someone into the premises. We have a thermal gate. What these are a camera that is able to take the temperature and let somebody just walk straight through. It's got a 0.5 second pass, and they have alarms and they have different types of sensors. So you can have them with various options. The more advanced ones can even do dispensing of hand wipe and disinfectant spray. They can be set for adult height or children and adult height, depending again on the options and the model chosen. And one of the other things which is interesting is that it's all communicatable with the factory system. So attendance records, even to make sure that the person coming through the gate is actually wearing their mask. So they are quite all-encompassing. And then there's a slightly lesser version, but again, it works perfectly well. And these are thermal sensors. And what you basically do there is you present your wrist or your forehead close to a sensor, which is on the side of the door itself. So you walk up to it, raise your wrist to it, it immediately reads the temperature and gives you a good or bad signal to go through. And the other version is actually access control cameras, and these look very much like a large cell phone. And again, they're quite advanced, different levels. I've got some examples of it further in this presentation. And again, they are fully communicatable with the factory databases, so things like attendance records. They can do the mask recognition, and they have all the other features, the alarms, etc. So there's 3 ways that the potential customer can go. The last one, the access control cameras, they tend to be fitted on a turnstile. But of course, you could have a thermal gate and a turnstile set behind it, so that when you go through the thermal gate, if it says no, the turnstile stays shut. And if it says yes, then the turnstile would open and they can pass through.
Right. Okay. So this is the first one. Now, this is quite an elaborate looking piece of equipment. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, Trevor, this is the top of the range as far as we're carrying it at the moment. This one can do virtually everything. It's got you basically walk into a cubicle here, and once you're inside the cubicle, it does the whole set of inspections. It will look at the temperature. It will check to see that you're wearing a mask. It has dispensing gel capability, so you can wipe it. It even has dispensing spray capability, so you can physically spray each person coming through. And it's about 3 times the price of a standard gate, but even then, it's not a huge amount of money. And it is the sort of top of the range version.
So this is the top of the range version, Dave. What is the next version down from that they can get? Okay. So this looks much more like as you said earlier, a cell phone.
Yes.
With a camera on the top. Does that have some sort of recognition system there?
Yes, it does face recognition. It makes sure that you've got the mask on. It checks the temperature, and it will also mark you in for attendance. So when you've arrived and when you leave, etc.
Wow.
So there's a range of these, and here's another one with a bit more explanation of all the different technologies involved. And there's a higher end one which will allow you to use ID cards and IC cards as well. It's an extra function. So these typically would sit onto a turnstile, and the turnstile would be operated go or refused based on the result coming from this sensor. They have flexible mounts, etc.
I mean, do you think there's an appetite in the West here for things like facial recognition? I mean, there's a lot of that goes on. I know the Chinese are used to it now because of the way the state runs, but I would think with people concerned about their privacy, I mean, is that not an issue over here?
I'm sure it is, Trevor. I mean, I'm still amazed that people don't see the benefits of identity cards, but it's right. Each person. I always feel if you've got nothing to hide, what does it matter? I mean, with the digital world we live in, does anybody actually think they're not on the radar? But at the end of the day, if someone has a case against having their face recognized or something, then they can take it up with the employer. But the employer is looking after their needs here. He's making sure that either they won't infect their colleagues or they will not be infected by their colleagues to the best of their ability. Okay.
So, and there's another version, I guess, without facial recognition, or yes, there's a.
Here's the other gate. This is similar to the first gate that we had, but these are standalone gates, very easy, just literally plug them into the wall. And what they do is you have 2 ways. This one is the version with a camera built inside, and this style is where they're using the sensor on the side. So this one, you would literally just walk straight up to it, and if the alarm doesn't go off, you carry on into work.
Okay.
This one, you walk up to it and you present your wrist or your forehead to the sensor, and it does exactly the same. It checks within a couple of seconds and says pass or stop, and an alarm goes off if it fails. And the only real difference you've got with all of these is that this one has both technologies, sensor and camera. This is camera. These are present your wrist or forehead. These are all camera. And the only other difference why these are duplicated is they also have sensors at child height. Because obviously, if you've got children going into a school, it's no good having a sensor that's 5 foot plus tall. You need a sensor that's at child height. So there's an extra option to have it doing different heights.
And these things can be connected to doors or gates, so that
yes, they basically go to a full range of gates and doors. Here you can see you can have the swing arm gates, you can have the wing gates and the open and shut gates. We've all been used to these at airports, etc. They communicate directly to them, and it's literally just a go, no-go signal.
Excellent, excellent. So tell me, Dave, I mean, that's all very interesting, but I mean, how are you communicating with customers at the moment? Because from some of the surveys we've been doing, they're not allowing any salespeople into the company. In fact, some of them are not even allowing visitors at a period into the company. They're doing things like virtual tours and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's true, Trevor. I mean, we've been dealing with customers with some of our product lines here in the UK, doing team viewer training, installation support, training support, even evaluations. Um, the you know, as you know, one of the major lines I carry is the Bentec range, which I was the president for 12 years, and I have the whole Bentec team working with me now. And my team have been doing various different support and training and even evaluations throughout this period of time. And the good news is we can literally jump on the machine with an operator sat with a set of earphones on connected to the machine, and he can hear what our guys are saying to him. And at the same time, they're able to learn, to use the machine, to interact with the engineer. It really is no difference than our guy being sat beside it. But
I mean, TeamViewer is good though for looking at taking over a screen and looking at software. What about if you have to look inside the machine? Are they using some sort of a cell phone or their mobile phone to look inside the machine itself?
Yes, I mean that's the only way you can do it. I mean they can do something using something like FaceTime or whatever they wish to use, and our guys can see what they're looking at, say move to the right, look up there, or whatever they want to do. Luckily enough, touching wood as I speak, we have very little issues with the actual hardware. It's typically because they're such intelligent machines, going back to the Bentec again, that it's 90% intelligence built into a box. So if something goes wrong, it's typically someone's made an error with loading their program or something, and it's very easy for us to fix that. It's quite rare for us to see a hardware issue.
Yeah. Well, it certainly changed times, Dave. Hopefully we all come out of this the other end and things start to return to normal at some point. But these are definitely some great solutions you've been showing us today. And I want to thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Trevor, and you stay safe, my friend.